Have you ever protected a celebrity's privacy without them knowing? I work front desk at this fancy hotel in Manhattan. It was raining hard when this guy walked in around 9 p.m. baseball cap pulled low. Thick hoodie, kept his head down. Something about him looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. He asked for a room under John Miller, paid cash, and specifically wanted the top floor where it's quieter. Normal enough request. About an hour later, my corker started freaking out. Apparently, Aaron King, that action movie star, was filming somewhere in the city. He's one of those celebrities who can't go anywhere without getting mobbed by cameras. My corker Emma was Googling pictures of him on her phone, showing everyone. That's when it clicked. The guy in the hoodie was definitely him. Around 11 p.m., these paparazzi guys stormed into our lobby. Like 5 of them, all carrying huge cameras and waving printed photos. One of them, this sweaty dude in a leather jacket, slammed his hand on my desk. "We know Aaron King is staying here." "What room?" I looked at him like he was crazy. "I'm sorry." "Who?" "Don't play dumb. We have sources. He checked in tonight." I pulled up our system and turned the screen so they could see it. I scrolled through the guest list slowly, making sure they saw every name. No Aaron King anywhere. "Look, I don't know what your sources told you, but we don't have any celebrities here, just regular business travelers." They weren't buying it. Leather jacket guy leaned closer. "We'll pay you $2,000 right now for his room number." Sir, even? If we did have celebrities here, which we don't, I can't give out guest information. That's illegal. They hung around the lobby for another hour, bothering other guests, taking pictures of everyone who walked by. Finally, hotel security kicked them out. Around midnight, Aaron came down to the vending machines wearing a different hoodie. He looked exhausted. When he saw me at the desk, he stopped. "Thanks," he said quietly, like he somehow knew. I just smiled. "Have a good night, Mr. Miller." But the next morning, everything went wrong. This businessman staying on the same floor must have recognized Aaron in the hallway. I watched him texting frantically in the elevator. By 10 a.m., those same paparazzi were back, plus about 10 more. This time, they weren't taking no for an answer. They set up camp outside, blocking the sidewalk. I knew Aaron would be trapped if he tried to leave normally. I called up to his room. "Mr. Miller, this is the front desk. We have a situation down here that might interest you." He came down through the service elevator. When I explained about the photographers outside, his face went pale. "I can't get stuck here. I have a flight in 3 hours. That's when I got an idea. Our laundry service uses this unmarked white van that parks in the underground garage. I found the driver, Carlos, and asked if he'd help us out." "Sure, but how's this going to work?" I grabbed a stack of clean sheets from housekeeping. "Mr. Miller, do you trust me?" Aaron looked confused, but nodded. We loaded him into the back of the van, covered him with the sheets, and I rode shotgun while Carlos drove. The photographers were so focused on the main entrance, they didn't even look at the laundry van pulling out of the garage. I had Carlos drop us off at this apartment building 6 blocks away, where Aaron's driver was waiting with a black car. As Aaron got out, he pulled off his cap and looked at me. "I don't know how to thank you. What's your name?" "Just doing my job." He smiled and handed me something before getting in the car. It was a signed photo with a note to the best hotel employee. "In NYC, thanks for keeping me sane, Aaron King." The crazy part: 3 weeks later, Aaron came back to our hotel. This time, he didn't need to hide. He walked right up to my desk and asked for the same room. "Mr. Miller returning?" I asked with a grin. "Actually, it's Mr. King this time, and I, specifically, requested you handle my check-in." Turns out he'd called the hotel manager and told them what I'd done. I got a promotion to guest services supervisor and a bonus that covered my rent for 2 months. But the best part was watching those same paparazzi guys get escorted out by our new security team when they tried to sneak in through the lock. My next morning felt like the eye of a storm. The moment Aaron returned to his room, something had already shifted. The businessman on the same floor who'd spotted him had sent out frantic messages, practically sounding the alarm. By mid-morning, the lobby and the sidewalks outside were swarming with paparazzi. No longer just a handful, but a dozen or more camera-wielding photographers staking out every possible exit. They didn't care about rules or privacy. Flashbulbs popped incessantly, and hotel guests began complaining. Some avoided the lobby altogether. The atmosphere was tense, charged, almost suffocating. I realized right then that Aaron was trapped. Trying to exit publicly would mean a gauntlet of cameras and questions that would make his next filming day unbearable. It was time to bring the plan to life. I called up to his room and explained the situation. The photographers are camped outside the main entrance. If you leave that way, you'll be mobbed. We've got a better way. His voice was drained but trusting. I'm ready. Working quickly, I coordinated with Carlos, the laundry driver, who was a familiar, reliable face in the underground garage. I gathered some fresh white sheets from housekeeping and explained the plan. We'd make Aaron invisible by wrapping him in clean laundry and sneaking out disguised in the unmarked laundry van when he emerged from the service elevator, wrapped snugly in sheets. It felt surreal, like smuggling royalty in plain sight. We moved as silently as possible, the van rumbling quietly through the garage while photographers obsessively guarded the front doors. Carlos expertly navigated traffic, dropping us off at an apartment building blocks away where Aaron's driver waited in a sleek black SUV. As Aaron slid out of the van, he finally removed his cap and gave me a tired but genuine smile. "I don't know how to thank you," he said quietly. "What's your name?" "Just doing my job," I replied, trying to keep my cool. He handed me a signed photo with a handwritten note to the best hotel employee in NYC. "Thanks for keeping me sane." Months later, Aaron returned, this time walking confidently through the front doors. No hoodie, no baseball cap. Just Mr. King, as he introduced himself with a wink. "I specifically requested you handle my check-in," he said. Word of my assistance had reached the hotel manager, and the recognition I received was overwhelming. Promotions followed, along with a handsome bonus that eased my rent for 2 months. But the real reward was watching as the hotel beefed up security, escorting out the same paparazzi who once tried to ambush him inside. Now, Aaron was a regular, no longer needing to hide, and I'd become a trusted part of his safe space in a city that rarely gave celebrities privacy. Story 2 on Christmas morning. Dad gifted my brother a $55,000 sports car. I got a napkin that said "Unchosen One" because I refused to co-sign his loan. My brother laughed and asked, "How does it feel to be not the favorite?" I looked at them and said, "Let's see how you manage without my $4,000 monthly support." 3 days later, I got 53 calls, 11 voice notes, and a knock at midnight that changed everything. "Check it out," my brother yelled, running outside in his slippers, practically drooling over the shiny red Mustang parked in our driveway. "No way. Dad, are you serious?" My father just stood there grinning like Santa on steroids. "Only the best for my boy," he said, tossing him the keys. "You earned it." I stood in the hallway holding my coffee, still half asleep. My dad didn't even glance at me. My brother was jumping around like a toddler. "Dude, this is like 55 grand. 56, actually," my dad corrected. "But who's counting?" Then he turned to me. "All right, almost forgot. Here's yours." He handed me a crumpled napkin written in black Sharpie. "The Unchosen One." I blinked. "What is this?" My brother burst out laughing, nearly dropping the key fob. "Dude, that's brutal." "Dad, really?" My father shrugged. "You refused to co-sign the loan. Actions have consequences. I stared at both of them. The air felt colder than the snow falling outside. You're punishing me for not risking my credit on your bad decisions. My brother stepped closer, a smirk on his face. So, how does it feel to be not the favorite, huh? I looked at them both, the grinning figure with the new car and the father who always made me feel like the second in line. And then I said it quietly, calmly. Let's see how you manage without my $4,000 monthly support. The smirk on my brother's face faltered for a second. 3 days later, I had 53 missed calls, 11 voice notes, and a knock at my door at midnight that changed everything. I should have seen it coming a mile away. For the past 4 years, I'd been the invisible backbone of this family. Every month, like clockwork, I sent my dad $4,000 to help out. Mortgage, medical bills, utilities, whatever excuse he had. The understanding was always unspoken, but heavy. You're the responsible one. You owe us. When my mom died, I stepped in. My brother was 19 then, flunking out of his second college. And my dad had just lost half his pension in some bad investment he wouldn't shut up about. I was 26, single, and already making 6 figures working remote for a cybersecurity firm. So, naturally, I became the family ATM. You're lucky to be in tech. My dad used to say, not everyone has that luxury. Luxury, like I hadn't worked 70-hour weeks for 3 straight years to get there. At first, it was $800. Then it became $1,500. Then when my brother moved back in after crashing his Audi, it's the first one, on our feet, they never got back on their feet because why would they? My brother Kyle didn't even pretend to try. He'd sleep till noon, then spend hours in the garage with his YouTube channel, unboxing luxury watches he never paid for, fake sponsorships, flexing like he was someone important. It's all marketing, he used to say. It's not about being rich, it's about looking rich. That Christmas morning just confirmed what I'd known deep down for years. They never respected me. They just used me. After I refused to co-sign a $70,000 loan for Kyle's business expansion, my dad called me ungrateful. Said I was jealous of Kyle's entrepreneurial drive. I laughed in his face. I've been your safety net for 4 years. I told him you don't get to throw shade just because I said no once. He hung up on me. So yeah, I skipped the cosign, paid my own bills, saved like an adult, and for Christmas, I got a napkin with Unchosen One written in Sharpie like I was some failed Harry Potter side character. The car wasn't even the worst part. It was the way they laughed, like it was a joke, like I didn't matter. So I pulled the plug. It's no more $4,000. No more paying off Kyle's parking tickets, his credit cards, his streaming software upgrades. No more covering my dad's missed payments and overdraft fees. And I didn't say it like a threat. I just said it calmly, clearly, with a small nod. Let's see how you manage without me. I didn't get a response at first, just awkward silence. Kay looked confused, like I was bluffing. My dad tried to laugh it off. You're just upset, son. I wasn't upset. I was done. The next 3 days were quiet. I went back to my place, kept working, went to the gym, lived my life. I ignored the first few calls, let the voicemails pile up, but by the 3rd day, the volume changed. First, it was Kyle. Bro, can we talk? That whole napkin thing, it was just a joke, man. Then my dad. I didn't mean to offend you, but you know, we're in a tight spot. By evening, I had 53 missed calls, 11 voice notes, each one more desperate than the last. One from Kyle's girlfriend. They're freaking out. Your dad's threatening to sell the house. Kyle's credit cards are maxed out. He thought you were still covering the insurance. Turns out I was. And then came the knock. Midnight, I peeked through the peephole and saw them both. Kyle hoodie up, looking miserable, and my dad readied like he'd been crying or drinking. Probably both. I didn't open the door. I stood there, staring, heart pounding. Because this wasn't about money anymore. This was years of being used, manipulated, dismissed. They stood there in silence. I heard my dad mumble something. Then he said it louder, voice cracking. "We need your help." I didn't say anything because this time they weren't getting what they wanted. But before I tell you what happened next and how that knock changed everything, let me take you back to how this mess really started. Back when I first became their personal safety net. Back when I thought helping me loyalty started with Kyle's first serious driving mistake. I was 23, he was 20. My dad didn't have the money for a lawyer, and Kyle didn't have the brains, not to drive drunk. So I stepped in, paid the fines, got him legal counsel, even bought him an Uber gift card just in case. Dad called me a hero. Kyle said, "Thanks, bro," and posted a picture of his court outfit with the caption, "Cleaning up nice." The next time it was the rent, Kyle got kicked out of his apartment for throwing a party that destroyed the place. He just needs a restart. My dad told me he's got so much potential. I wired them $3,000, then $5,000, then $8,000 when the car lease defaulted. But nothing changed. The more I gave, the less they respected me. Kyle never worked more than part-time. My dad kept refinancing the house until it barely had equity left. They took vacations I never went on. Ate at restaurants I couldn't justify. Upgraded phones, bought gaming chairs, paid for Spotify Premium. All while I quietly cut corners to meet deadlines and hit savings goals. At one point, I was working 2 jobs, cybersecurity during the day, freelance coding at night, just to maintain a buffer in case they needed help. No one asked if I was okay. They just kept asking for more. And I kept giving it until now, until Christmas morning, until the napkin. I only opened the door when I heard my father say it. "Son, please." He never said that ever. They both stood there, my dad in an old sagging jacket and Kyle with his hood up, looking like someone had deflated his confidence. I stepped aside. They walked in. My father spoke first. We've lost everything. The car was repossessed this morning. I'm $19,000 in credit card debt." And he looked at Kyle. "He can't afford rent." So I asked. My voice was flat, almost unfamiliar to myself. "We're asking you to come back. Help us just for a few months." We realized we crossed a line. That napkin thing, it was a joke. A stupid one. I turned to Kyle. "You laughed." Kyle called me the not the favorite. That was a joke. He nodded slowly. It seemed funny at the time. "I didn't think you'd actually cut us off." That was the truth. They never thought I would stop. They thought I was too responsible, too guilt-ridden, too loyal. "Do you know how much money I've sent you over the years?" I asked, pulling out my laptop. I added it up. $186,000 in 5 years. Not including gifts, credit card bailouts, insurance premiums. Silence. All I ever got in return was disrespect and pressure. Kay got a sports car. I got a napkin. Dad jumped in defensively. "That's not fair. I've always looked out for you. After your mom, you looked out for yourself and for Kyle. After Mom died, I became your safety net. And I stayed quiet, but not anymore." I turned directly to my brother. "You've disrespected me for years." I laughed. "At me, lived off my money, treated me like I was beneath you. Now it's your turn to figure it out." My dad switched tactics. Manipulation mode. "We won't survive without you. We'll lose the house. You had 4 years and 6 refinancing deals to fix things. I said, you chose laziness. Now you deal with it." That's when it came. The part I expected. Anger. "You're really going to let your own father end up on the street?" He barked. "You think you're better than us now?" I stayed still. I didn't flinch. That enraged him even more. "I made you who you are," he shouted. "You owe us everything." I laughed. It wasn't amused. It was dry. Tired, I made myself. You made a mess and dumped it on me. Carl stood quiet, but then he muttered, "I'll get a job maybe if you help one more time." "You had chances," I said, "when I paid for your business course. And the second one, and the third, and the $3,200 streaming setup, and the studio you abandoned in a month." Still silence. "I helped you because I thought that's what family does. But now I know. I was just convenient." My dad tried again. Voice cracking now. "But we're your family. We made mistakes. Sure, but we're blood." I reached for a folder from my shelf. "I've redirected the $4,000 a month into an investment account for me. And for the first time in years, I feel in control." Kyle exhaled. "So, that's it. You're just leaving us behind." "I'm not leaving you. I'm releasing myself." Then came the final act. My dad lowered his eyes. "What if we apologized?" I shrugged, then apologized. "But don't expect another dollar." They left 15 minutes later. No shouting, no threats. And that's when I felt it. Not triumph, not victory, just silence. Finally, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. And for the first time in years, fell asleep without tension in my chest. The first morning after they left, I woke up to silence. No vibrating phone, no overdraft alerts, no missed calls from my dad asking for it. Just one more thing. I brewed my coffee, took it to the couch, sat there for 10 minutes doing nothing. And for the first time in years, that nothing didn't feel wasteful. It felt earned. Over the next week, I kept expecting the guilt to hit. It didn't. Instead, I felt lighter, like someone had cut off a weight I didn't even know I was carrying. Like I could finally breathe. My routine didn't change. I still worked, still went to the gym, still meal prepped on Sundays. But now there was no anxious voice in the back of my head, calculating how much I'd have left after covering someone else's crisis. I finally had a full paycheck to myself, and it felt unreal. But the calls didn't stop. They came in waves. First, a few missed ones. Then long texts, paragraphs of guilt and nostalgia. "Remember when we used to go to the beach as kids? Your mom would have wanted us to stay close?" Then came voice notes. Some emotional, some manipulative, some angry. My dad cycled through all three in a single day. I didn't answer, not out of spite, out of self-preservation. About 2 weeks later, Kyle called from a new number, left a voicemail. "Hey, I get it. You're mad. I was a jerk. I really screwed up. I'm trying to find work, but it's hard out here. I don't know what I'm doing. And Dad, he's not doing great. He's talking about selling the house. I know I don't deserve your help, but can we just talk? I didn't call back because he wasn't wrong. He didn't deserve it." 3 days after that, I got a message from my dad's number, but it wasn't him. It was a photo Kyle in a fast food uniform, looking tired, sweaty, and miserable. The caption just said, "He's learning." I stared at it for a while. Then I closed the message and turned off my phone. Tia. That night, I got another knock on my door. It wasn't them. It was someone I hadn't heard from in years. Amanda, my brother's ex-girlfriend. We barely spoke when they were together, but now she stood there, eyes red, holding a small envelope. "I know this is weird," she said, "but I needed to say thank you." I invited her in. She told me everything. Turns out she'd left Kyle months ago, but not before he drained her savings, wrecked her credit, and left her stuck with $12,000 in unpaid utilities and car repairs. She tried to reach out to my dad back then. He told her, boys will be boys, and hung up on her. She didn't come for revenge or money. She came because she saw my name on an old payment stub. One of the many times I'd unknowingly covered Kyle's mess and realized I wasn't like them. "You tried to help," she said, "and they made you the villain." Before she left, she handed me the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note from Kyle. It was old, dated 6 months ago. He'd started it like an apology, then halfway through it turned into a rant about how I had it easy, how I never struggled like him, how I owed him for being the golden child of the tech world. I laughed out loud because he really believed that I had it easy, that waking up at 5 a.m. to work 2 jobs while he played video games was somehow luxury, that skipping vacations, dating, fun, just to send money home made me privileged. That night, I went online and booked a 3-week trip to Portugal. It wasn't some spontaneous escape. It was planned, budgeted, earned. I flew out 2 weeks later. No texts, no check-ins, no where are you demands, just silence and freedom. I hiked the coast, ate my weight in seafood, and read 2 full novels without once checking my email. And while I was gone, something wild happened. Kay got promoted. Yup. Turns out he actually stuck with the job. Showed up early, took extra shifts, stopped complaining, started walking to work, stopped drinking, sold off some of his old luxury junk online just to make rent. And my dad. He started renting out the guest room in his house to a retired Navy vet who helped him fix up the garage. Word was he even started budgeting his money for the first time since 2009. None of that was thanks to me. It was thanks to me leaving the thing they feared the most. And ironically, the only thing that helped them grow. When I got back, there was a letter waiting in my mailbox. No return address. Inside, a single sentence. I didn't know how much you carried until I had to lift it. No name, just Kyle's handwriting. I folded it and put it in my desk drawer. Not out of sentiment, but as proof. Proof that boundaries work. Proof that walking away isn't betrayal. Sometimes it's the only move that resets the board. 2 weeks later, my dad showed up at my door again, alone. He didn't bring guilt or anger. This time, just a check. A real check. $1,000. "This isn't a bribe," he said. "It's not even close to what I owe, but it's a start." I didn't cash it. I pinned it to the fridge as a reminder that even the most stubborn people can change when they're forced to. It's been 6 months now. I haven't resumed payments. I haven't taken any calls unless I feel like it. I still send holiday cards, keep my distance, protect my peace. And you know what? They stopped asking because they finally figured out what I've always known. I was never the unchosen one. I was the one they leaned on, the one they drained, the one they took for granted. But not anymore. Now I'm just me, free, stable, unbothered. And for the first time in years, I know exactly who I am when I'm not carrying everyone else's weight. The day after they left, I waited for regret. It didn't come. What came instead was quiet. Real, peaceful quiet. For the first time in years. I wasn't checking my phone every hour for another crisis. I wasn't logging into my bank account in a panic to make sure I could cover someone else's mess. It's why I wasn't rehearsing fake reasons why I couldn't help this month. I woke up, went to the gym, logged into work, ate lunch without interruption. That evening, I sat on my balcony with a beer and just stared out at nothing. No plans, no pressure, no burden. I didn't feel selfish. I felt alive, but it didn't last. By the 3rd day, the guilt messages started like clockwork. "We just want to talk. We miss you. You're still family no matter what." Then came Kyle. Voice notes, one after another. "Bro, come on. I know we messed up, but I've got nothing. I'm crashing on someone's floor. I'm applying places, I swear. Just help me one last time. One last time." He sounded worn down. Scared, I almost answered. But then I remembered the napkin. I remembered him laughing while I stood there, humiliated, so I didn't answer. I muted everything. 2 days later, I got a message from an unknown number. So it's a photo. Kyle in a fast food uniform behind the counter. He looked exhausted. No smile. The caption said, "He's trying." It was from my dad. I stared at it for a full minute, then deleted it. A few days passed. Then I got another text from a number I didn't recognize. "Check your email. You're going to want to see this." No name. Curious but cautious. I opened my laptop and checked my inbox. There it was, an anonymous tip. A forwarded screenshot of a GoFundMe page. "Please help us keep our home. My father is sick. My brother abandoned us." It had photos of Kyle and my dad looking miserable next to a poorly written sob story. And there it was, my name blamed publicly. They claimed I'd cut ties with no warning, that I'd refused to help even after a medical emergency, and that I was well off but cold-hearted. I stared at it, stunned, and I wasn't the only one. There were comments from strangers saying things like, "His brother sounds like a heartless person. Imagine letting your own dad go homeless. What a monster." They were making money off of painting me as the villain. Thousands of dollars in donations. I felt like throwing up. I paced for nearly an hour trying to decide what to do. Call them. Confront them, sue? Instead, I took a screenshot and sent it to Kyle. "This is how you try now." He replied 5 minutes later, and I didn't write it. Dad did. I swear I told him not to post it. I didn't answer. Instead, I called the reported the Fundra. 2 days later, the page was taken down for violating terms. The money was frozen, and suddenly silence again. No texts, no calls, not even guilt trips. A week later, Amanda, Kyle's ex, showed up. She looked hesitant but determined. "I heard about the fundraiser," she said. "I came to tell you something." We sat down and she explained everything. Apparently, the money was meant to pay off my dad's serious financial losses, not medical bills, gambling. He'd racked up over $20,000 in high-risk online games. Kyle knew, covered for him. The GoFundMe was a last-ditch effort to make it disappear. They weren't trying to survive, she said. They were trying to reset again. That night, I booked a weekend trip. My first in years. I didn't tell anyone. I turned off my phone and left. While I was away, something strange happened. I got an email from a former high school friend, someone I hadn't heard from in over a decade. Subject: saw your name. Attached was a screenshot. My name had shown up in a local Facebook group with people asking whether the cold tech bro who ditched his dying dad was real. The lies had spread further than I thought. I felt two things: fury and relief. Fury that they dragged my name so deep through the mud, relief that I wasn't in it anymore. When I came back, things had changed. Kyle kept his job. Word was he'd been showing up early, even covering shifts. He'd sold off some of his fake luxury junk. My dad stopped gambling, at least for now. He was renting out the spare room and paying off credit cards. Slowly, then came the final twist. A knock on my door. It was Kyle. No hoodie, no backpack, just him standing there holding a manila folder. "I'm not here to ask for anything," he said. "I just wanted to give you this." Inside were printouts, proof of the debts he'd paid off, copies of his last 6 paychecks, a receipt showing he'd started therapy, and at the bottom, a short handwritten note. "I was the broken one, but I used you like a crutch and blamed you for standing." That hit harder than I expected. It wasn't an apology. It was something rarer. It was accountability. And for the first time, I believed he meant it. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. We nodded. Then he left.